the people that are watching us online. We appreciate it so much. We'll get started because it looks like we have a wonderful performance coming up for us. So at this time, I will reconvene into open session this meeting of the Arlington Independent School District Board of Trustees for December 8th, 2022, beginning at 7:18. Members of the public may access this meeting via AISD website at www.aisd.net. One or more trustees may participate in the meeting via video conference call. A quorum of the Board of Trustees will be physically present at the administration building. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Our board meetings are open to the public, and we welcome everyone and thank you for participating in public education. While our meetings are open to the public, this is a meeting and we have business to conduct. Disruptions will not be permitted. Anyone who disrupts the meeting or speaks when others are speaking may be asked to leave or be escorted out by the security attending the meeting. We welcome civic input, but we must insist that we remain respectful and civil. Thank you for your cooperation. We will start our meeting with the opening ceremony. Please join Mrs. Mays in leading us in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. Sorry, I didn't want you. Please silence all cell phones and electronic devices to avoid disruptions to those around you. And now, if you would join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. The first item on our agenda is programs and presentation. Dr. Cavazos. Ms. Foster.
Yes, President Fowler, members of the board, Dr. Cavazos, and everyone here tonight, this is going to be amazing. So y'all just need to be prepared. Your socks are going to be blown off. Everyone watching at home, this is a very special treat. Come on down. We're going to introduce you to the Arlington High School Choraliers. They're going to perform tonight. This group is made up of 9th through 12th graders, and they come from a variety of disciplines. They're enrolled in AP classes, IB, advanced coursework. Most of them are at the top of their class. These guys work really hard at all that they do. Several are also active participants in things like theater, band, orchestra, sports like soccer, and on down the list. They do it all. The choir routinely performs throughout the community, and they attend several show choir competitions during the spring. Tonight, their special presentation for us is, let's see, have a Merry, 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 Merry Christmas. And they're going to be under the direction tonight of Shannon Winkle. So take it away, Choraliers.
Merry Christmas! Have a merry, 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 merry Christmas! Have a happy holiday!
Get yourself into a glow underneath the mistletoe. Have a Christmas in a good old-fashioned way.
Merry Christmas! Hang a holly wreath and candle in each window. Hang your heart up on a shining Christmas tree. Have a merry, 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 merry Christmas! Just as merry as it can be.
It's the time of the year when it's great to be alive. It's the time when the world wears a halo.
It's the time when you greet everyone you chance to meet, when you're glad to see your friends and you say so. Every heart is young as May, and isn't it wonderful, isn't it great to say?
dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtail ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. It's the time of the year when it's great to be alive. It's the time when the world wears a halo.
It's the time when you greet everyone you chance to meet, when you're glad to see your friends and you say so. Every heart is young as May, and isn't it wonderful, isn't it great to say? Hang a holly wreath and candle in each window, hang your heart up on a shining Christmas tree. Have a merry, 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 merry Christmas, just as merry as it can be, just as merry, merry, merry as it can be. Merry
Well, if that won't get you in the Christmas spirit, nothing will. Weren't they incredible? Another round of applause for the Choraliers. My goodness, such talent, such talent. And now we're going to wait for Aaron Fowler. Is that now? Student of the month. Student of the month. We are now ready for our December 2022 Student of the Month. We have Bowie High School student Lisbeth Valdovinos. And Principal Lee Jones, would you like to tell us a little bit about Lisbeth? Oh, is he still down there? I thought, what are you afraid of?
All right.
Thank you, Frank. Principal Jones?
All right. Good evening, President Fowler, members of the board, Dr. Cavazos. It is my pleasure to introduce the AISD Student of the Month, Miss Elizabeth Valdovinos. When being asked to choose a recipient, of course, you know, that's a very difficult task to do on a campus so big. But then I realized who really runs the school, and who really runs it is someone who is Elizabeth. And I'm serious when I say that. I truly mean that, because she's one of the heartbeats of the campus. And she is someone who I check in with, and our staff members check in with when we want to get a gauge or pulse of the campus. When I first got this job, I remember her wanting to do a commercial with me. And on this particular day, I was very, very busy. It was literally like the second week of me having the interim position. And I want to say about 45 minutes went past, and I totally forgot that this young lady was waiting on me so that she can do the commercial. When I stepped out of the office, I was like, oh, she's still waiting. And she was waiting very patiently and with a huge smile. And she's one of those individuals with that patience and the drive to get the task done. She had a task to complete. And she made sure that she waited there, but she was so patient and kind. Even though she knew I was busy, she was going to get her task done. That is who she is. So she has been a student at Bowie for her entire 4 years. Some things that the teachers have to say is that she has turned from a shy student into a leader, and we'll talk about some of her leadership positions here in a little bit. But she is truly the true definition of what being a Bowie volunteer is. This past week, her student council sponsor was out, and she made sure everything ran smoothly. She is a well-rounded leader who treats everyone with respect. As the student council president, she has set high expectations for her peers and leads by example. Her teachers only have positive things to say about her. One thing is that one thing that the teachers continue to say about her is that she is a kind person who is always positive. She is currently enrolled in AP courses, avid BPA committee chair member, and she has been this year's Great Student Council president. She has gotten accepted into 4 college campuses right now. And of course, she's waiting on some other ones. She is going to major in business and management, and whatever school she decides to go to, she is going to be a great example for AISD and Bowie High School. Elizabeth, come on down.
Can I reach? Oh, damn. I can lower it down. Oh, okay. Oh, first of all, thank you guys so much for this opportunity. It's very nice to be in front of you guys. Big fan of the district. But I do want to say just thank you so much for the opportunity. The district has been amazing for like the past 12 years that I've been in the district. I'm very happy to be here. I would like to thank, of course, Mr. Jones for the amazing opportunity and for all the kind words he said. He was right about most of it. I'm persistent but patient. But I would also like to thank, of course, my teachers and family, friends, my parents specifically, for pushing me to be better, but knowing my limits and knowing that I can do more than I can. It's been very fun to be involved and help out the community. Not to brag, but that Christmas tree that's in the building, we decorated it. Just saying, if it looks pretty, we did it. If it doesn't, it wasn't us. But yeah, very grateful for the opportunity to be able to set it up for y'all and have y'all be able to see it and be like, wow, very holiday spirit. But of course, thank you guys so much for the opportunity, and it means a lot to be here.
Elizabeth, I hope you know that not very many principals could say all the nice things that Principal Jones has said about you. So please feel complimented. We are very impressed. And know that if the principal can't be in, it sounds like you can take over and run the school and you'll do just fine. So that is good to know. But we're so proud of you, and it sounds like you are just an exceptional student. And thank you for being in AISD and such a great representative of our district and of Bowie High School. May we come down and share a gift with you? Thank you. All right, Miss Elizabeth, we all have these pens. It's a very special pen. We don't give them to just anyone, but we feel like you are worthy of one of these special pens. So please wear it or put it in a keepsake box, whatever you want, but know that we're proud of you and that you share that with all of us.
And Elizabeth, thank you so much for representing Arlington ISD and Bowie High School exceptionally well. You're a model, you're a role model, and I'm so proud of you. This is also for you for tonight, and I just wish you the best, and I know you will do well, and I thank your family and all your friends for who you are, and thank you so much.
With the principal, everyone. Don't we have incredible students in AISD? It is just remarkable, the caliber of students that we have. We're so proud of them. Now we move on to our Community Engaged for Excellence Award of Appreciation. Mr. Perales?
Thank you for lowering the mic for me. Appreciate that. I usually have to do it myself. So President Fowler, Superintendent Cavazos, members of the board, it truly is an honor and a pleasure to be able to say thank you to the community that supports us so much. And this evening, we have an opportunity to celebrate and say thank you to an organization that has engaged with AISD throughout our system. And again, an organization that has been a great part of our PACE department, one of the earliest partners that we had a chance to connect with in our department. And so it's just a pleasure to say thank you to them to this evening. They engage in quite a bit, and so I had to bring a presentation aid today. And that is a little bit of water because my breath might get a little dry here. So, Community Engaged for Excellence Award of Appreciation. The Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation is dedicated to improving the lives of those in our community, especially children, the military, first responders, and their families through educational, health, and athletic programming, and partnerships that bring meaningful change to our communities. The Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation has a longstanding commitment to supporting the Arlington ISD learning community by providing support through unique programming and curriculum, student scholarships, and opportunities for students, staff, and families to be entertained by the Texas Rangers. In the area of education and scholarship, the foundation provides direct support to the Richard Green Scholars Program. The scholarship program provides a rising high school senior selected from each Arlington ISD high school to receive a $10,000 college scholarship and participate in an immersive internship and mentorship program, which includes an opportunity for us as department leaders to meet all of them. They get to go around the district and learn how the district operates. And so, thank you for that program for our students. In 2014, the foundation implemented the Leading Off program, which every year sees 60 eighth grade students from across Arlington ISD participate in a servant leadership program. Leading Off focuses on giving participants the tools to succeed after graduation through various workshops and community service events focused on 8 primary leadership qualities. The students meet once a month, and the program culminates with campus cohorts of students creating a community service project that affects their campus and community. And I get to meet with Ray Casas every month and work on that project. In the area of health education, the foundation partners with Medical City Health Care to provide the Health and Fitness All-Stars program, a series of instructional videos designed to supplement the 5th grade physical education curriculum in Arlington ISD. And each lesson, Rangers captain and Medical City Health Care professionals teach students tips to maintain physically and mentally healthy lifestyles. There's many more initiatives. There's the Just Keep Living program that connects with our Sam Houston High School students with an after-school program. There's also a Fun at Bat program that affects our K through 5th grade students at the elementary level that is an entry-level bat and ball program, and it brings curriculum to that as well. In honoring AISD staff, we know that the foundation provides Teacher of the Year recognitions and multiple opportunities for our community to take in a ball game. Recently, and this one's really, really awesome as well, which you may already know about, regarding direct funding support for special initiatives, the foundation provides various grant opportunities In recognition of the Texas Rangers' 50th anniversary and the 30th anniversary of the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation, the foundation funded 5 $100,000 scholarships. And guess what? AISD was the recipient of one of those through the AISD Education Foundation. The grant that was awarded to us will help to promote education, and not just education with our AISD pre-kindergarten students, but also be a support to that pre-K Full STEM Ahead initiative. They'll provide state-of-the-art equipment that is safe and developmentally appropriate for pre-K students to promote good health and increase their appreciation for sports. The grant funding will bolster our students' experience as they start their brand new journey in AISD. It's incredible. Through their intentional focus on supporting children and impacting the community they serve, the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation is certainly deserving of our AISD Community Engaged for Excellence Award of Appreciation. At this time, I'd like to call Karen Morris, Executive Director of the Foundation, to the podium.
Well, hello. I see a lot of familiar faces, so it's wonderful to have a moment to hear from Aaron about the things that we've done in Arlington. I think since we've moved to Arlington in 1972, we've been intentional about partnering with AISD, not only in programs and supporting what Arlington ISD does, but in hiring your students and hiring your teachers and hiring your staff. There's no way there's a Rangers game without Arlington ISD students and staff helping us. But it's truly a partnership in all senses of a partnership. If you think of a baseball organization, we start in rookie league, and then we go through AA, AAA, and then the major leagues. And that's sort of how we look at our partnership with Arlington ISD, from support of pre-K to our leading off programs in middle school, to our fitness program in elementary school, and then to the Richard Green Scholars Program and Just Keep Living program in high school. We look at trying to reach those kids at each aspect that we can. We also want to make sure that we're able to bring your students to games. I think on one given night last year, we had 5,000 students, give or take, from Arlington ISD at a game. And we want to make sure that regardless of it being a fancy new stadium, whatever it may be, that it is a welcoming environment for your students, your staff, and your teachers, and all of you, all of your employees, to feel like that is part of their home. That is where they can come and enjoy baseball games. It's an incredible time right now for the Texas Rangers. Today, we obviously announced the signing of Jacob deGrom, and we are looking forward to a much more competitive season on the field. But we're also looking forward to a number of things that will directly impact the community as we move forward, be it through the construction that continues in the entertainment district, and then also the recently announced All-Star Game that comes with a significant amount of community investments that will impact Arlington significantly. We are so thankful for our partnership with all of you. We are always a listening ear, so if we're not missing an opportunity, if there's something we can do to benefit the community in a different way that's meaningful to your students and to what the district is hoping to do, we hope that you know that you can always call us. But thank you for this opportunity to be here. I'd like to recognize Ray Casas, who does lead most of our Arlington ISD school-based programs. He also runs the Fitness All-Stars program and is excellent with children and Dancing with Captain. And Laura Wyatt, who handles most of our PR and communications as it relates to our school-based programs. So they've joined me here tonight, but thank you again for this opportunity to be with you.
And Ms. Morris, we just want to thank you so much for all that the Texas Rangers Foundation does for AISD. We appreciate you. We're so happy that we can be partners, and I call you a partner and a friend to the district. So thank you so much for all that you and the foundation do. I was at a Arlington shelter Christmas dinner last night, and I looked up there, and we were there helping to serve, and there were the Texas Rangers baseball players serving all the food to the shelter guests. So we appreciate the Rangers and we appreciate the foundation. We'd like to come down and give you a gift if we may. Thank you. I'll let Dr. C get that there. Thank you both so much. Thank you. It's good to see you. Thank you so much. We are so happy to be able to honor the Texas Rangers Foundation and being our partners in the community.
Yeah, so Aaron had the long list, and it will continue, and you opened the door about more. So we'll take you up on that. But no, seriously, Texas Rangers outstanding, and thank you for years and years of partnership and dedication, and we feel the love from the Texas Rangers, so I appreciate it very much.
We now come to our open forum for agenda items. As stated on the posted agenda, members of the public who desire to address the board regarding an item on the agenda are required to register at www.aisd.net board meeting speaker request no later than 3 p.m. the day of the board meeting. Ms. Benjamin, do we have any requesters?
No, ma'am, we do not have any registered for a agenda item or for a non-agenda item.
Thank you so much, Ms. Benjamin. Next, we'll consider administrative ratifications and appointments. Dr. Cavazos.
Thank you, President Fowler, and I'd like to recommend that the board ratify the appointments of the individuals discussed in closed session for principal for Bebency Elementary and 2 assistant principals for Sam Houston High School.
President Fowler, I move that we accept the administration's appointments. Second.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Hibbs and a second by Dr. Raj. Any discussion? All right, let's vote. All right, everyone votes in the affirmative. Dr. Cavazos.
Thank you, President Fowler, and I'd like to introduce our new principal for Bebency Elementary, Ms. Sophie Heck. Sophie attended, and you'll see her bio here, but attended Texas Wesleyan University for Bachelor of Science in Biology, University of Texas Arlington for Master of Arts in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. Most recently, an assistant principal at Arlington High School. Has been interim principal at Bebency Elementary, has been an assistant principal at Young Junior High, a secondary science teacher at Arlington High, and a long-term biology substitute. Thank you for doing that, at Arlington High as well. Sophie, congratulations and welcome to the principalship. Next, I'd like to introduce our one of our assistant principals for Sam Houston High School, Joshua Vaughn. Joshua attended Hardin-Simmons University for Bachelor of Behavioral Science and Mathematics Education, University of Texas Tyler for Master in Education on Educational Leadership. Most recently, an Algebra 1 teacher and a coach at Little Elm ISD. Has also taught algebra in Northwest ISD, a math teacher and instructional facilitator at Carrollton Farmers Branch, and also has coached and been a math teacher in Baird ISD. Joshua, congratulations and welcome to Arlington ISD and Sam Houston High School. Last but not least, the assistant principal for Sam Houston High School, the second one, Ashley Weig. Ashley attended Southwestern University in Georgetown for Bachelor of Arts in Classic Education or Classics, UT Arlington for Master of Ed in Ed Leadership and Policy Studies. Most recently, Fort Worth ISD Freshman Success Coach and a Latin teacher as well, and has also taught 8th through 12th grade Latin and Greek as well in Fort Worth Country Day School, and has taught in Plano ISD Latin as well for grades 9th through 12th. So Ashley, congratulations and welcome to Arlington and Sam Houston. These are our appointments.
Thank you, Dr. Cavazos. Welcome to Arlington ISD. Thank you for choosing us. We appreciate it so much. And if you have any questions, concerns, anything, we're always here to listen. And we just welcome you, and we're so glad that you're part of our AISD family. So welcome. We have a little background drop out there. If you want to get pictures with your family and friends and principals, please feel free to do that. And welcome to AISD. Next on our agenda are action items. Dr. Cavazos.
First action item is for you, President Fowler, to consider. I'll just leave it at that.
we now come to the time where we are ready to extend the contract of Dr. Cavazos, and we are so happy to do so and happy to have him. We're blessed to have him. We know how lucky we are to have him, and we appreciate so much all that you do, Dr. Cavazos. And we want to extend your contract, and I think Ms. Mays may have a motion for us.
Thank you. It is my honor to make this motion. I move to extend the superintendent's contract by 1 year and authorize the board president to finalize and sign the contract consistent with the board's decision in closed session.
Thank you, Ms. Mays. Thank you, Ms. Mays. I have a motion for Mrs. Mays. Do I have a second? Second. Ooh, we have a tie. A tie between Mr. Hibbs and Dr. Reich. All right, my friends, let's vote. Dr. Reich. Sorry, Mr. Hibbs. Do we have any discussion? No discussion? After. All right, it looks like everyone has voted in the affirmative, so we have him for another year. 5 years. Ms. McMurray, did you? 1 year, 5 year. It's all relative. It's not pulling
There
up
it
or-
goes. Thank you, President Fowler. Dr. Cavazos, I'm just very excited about this extension. I just can't believe not only how long you've been with the district, but your tenure as superintendent, it is not the same district as it was. Yeah, I mean, even dating back to when you were our deputy superintendent, adjectives that come to mind when I think about your leadership are steadfast, innovative, and caring. And we've had to really ride the wave of COVID, and we're still riding waves post-COVID. But this is a big honor for me to be able to approve this extension because you led us through all that, and you have an unwavering focus on what's best for kids. And, there are certain parameters we have to stay in, with the state and with our budget and all the things that come our way as a school district in Texas. But you never sway away from that focus. And you've taught me so much in my first 2 years as a board member, and I'm so excited to continue not just this contract, but the leadership that you offer and its implications to all of our staff, all of our students, and our whole community. So thank you for your leadership.
Dr. Reich? Dr. Reich?
Thank you, President Fowler. Dr. Cavazos, thank you for the leadership that you have displayed, portrayed, and have really brought about in every breath of your being every day since really your initial hiring, taking the interim off of that title. It's been 10 years almost to the day, and as we always say, it is about leadership in any organization, and that's at all levels. And you have continued, as I've said multiple times, been able to operationalize the vision of the strategic plan that we all have poured ourselves into and believe in and developed. And it is for that and your ability to interact with our community partners, that it's just a great privilege for me to be able to call you our sole employee as superintendent and to continue on in this contract. Thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you, Dr. Reich. Mr. Hibbs?
Just like Dr. Reich, we were two that were around when you came on board, and it was never a question for me. I knew immediately that you were going to be the right choice. when we thought we would go out to just see what else was in the marketplace. We said, you know what, we think we got the right one, let's give him a little bit of time. Within weeks, we knew you were the appropriate person to fill the vacancy. I remember being able to sit down with you, and you and I were tasked with being able to help write the mission to propose it for the strategic plan that we had. And when I heard the words come out of your mouth, what you thought this vision should be in the mission, I knew we were going to be in good hands. I'm fortunate enough to be able to call you more than just the superintendent. I call you a friend. And our district has been well served by you, and I look forward to being able to see you continue to lead our district forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hibbs. Mr. Wilbanks?
Thank you, President Fowler, and Dr. Cavazos, thank you. When I look back at where this district was when you first took the helm and the total transformation and where the district is now, it's all due to your vision. And I want to thank you for the opportunities that you have provided for our students to really realize their dreams, no matter what those dreams are. Those with opportunities that just didn't exist back in 2011. And I think your vision helped inspire me to kind of get off the sidelines and roll up my sleeves and give back and make that vision, help make that vision a reality. So I want to thank you for that. And I look forward to serving hopefully another 10 years with you at the helm here in this district, maybe 20. Maybe 20.
Ms. Mays?
Thank you. I made the motion, so I'll make it quick. Dr. Cavazos, I just want to say the one thing, in addition to everything my colleagues have said, that I really admire about you is how you are out in the schools. When we go to events and we go with you, your staff comes up to you, they're talking to you, you can tell that you know things about them, they know things about you. And to me, I think that's very important, to not just lead from an office, but to actually physically lead from the area where the people that are your staff, your teachers, the janitors, the bus drivers. I mean, over my 9 years, I've seen it all. And I really, really respect the fact of you wanting to go and be seen and be heard from those individuals, as well as always keeping what is included in our mission and our vision, that all students have equitable access to an education. And our district is made up of so many different students, but they all have access to get the education that they need, the way that they may need to get it. And I really appreciate you for continuing to push that.
Thank you, Ms. Mays. Mr. Chapa?
Thank you, President Fowler. I don't really have much to say. I just don't want people to think that I'm following the advice of, if you don't really have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. So I, but for real. I would echo everything that my colleagues have said, but something that I want to point out about Dr. Cavazos is, you know, if you go to just how lucky we are to have someone, I think, of his stature in the field that he's in. You know, there's over 1,000 school districts in Texas. They all have superintendents. And of them, you know, just like any other profession, there are those who do their jobs day in, day out, their average they do. But we have the opportunity here, and have had the opportunity to work with somebody who really is a rock star in his profession. And if you go to the state school board convention and you try to walk across the floor of the exhibit floor with him, you're not going to make it across the floor because so many people want to stop and talk to him. And I've had the privilege the last 2.5 years to serve on the board of the Texas Association of School Boards. And so we just had a board meeting last weekend, and something that happens frequently at the TASB board meetings is trustees from across the state get together and they complain about their superintendents. And, and not all of them, but it frequently comes up. And when I hear other trustees from small districts, large districts, districts you've heard of, talk about their superintendents, it's pretty evident real fast just how much of a special relationship we have here with Dr. Cavazos and the difference that he's made here, and how lucky we are to have somebody with his strategic vision guiding us through some really tumultuous times in this district. And as Ms. McMurrow said, really revitalized large parts of it. And so with that, look forward to continuing to work with you, Dr. Cavazos, and congratulations on this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Chapa. Thank you, Dr. Cavazos, for being who you are. Thank you for your leadership, not only with AISD, but your leadership in the community. You're so respected, and it's just a pleasure to have you serve as our leader on the board. So thank you so much.
Thank you, President Fowler, and I'd just like to say thank you to the board, and I'll be brief as well. Thank you for this extension, and thank you for your confidence. This reflects really the work of all of us. We're a team in Arlington ISD. We're a big team, over 8,000 employees and 60,000 approximately students. But thank you so much, and your support means the world. And I am blessed to be in Arlington and blessed to be able to serve at this capacity and serve for a number of years. And I look forward to our future. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Cavazos. Now we move to action item B, consider a resolution closing the natural gas fund.
Thank you, President Fowler. And so we bring for your consideration the resolution to close the natural gas fund, as we have reprioritized some of our funding streams and some of our efforts in relation to our budget. And we've had some of this discussion with budget workshops and others. So at this time, for your consideration is that resolution.
Thank you, President Fowler. I am going to move to approve a resolution that I'm going to read into the record here in just a moment. I just wanted to take a moment to say that this fund has been around for quite some time, and it has been one that we have always maintained we're going to do something with this fund. We're not going to just let it get absorbed into general operational budget. We don't know what that looks like. We've addressed different thoughts and ideas over the years, and in the past few years, we have seen a complete turn of the world with COVID and supply chain inflation, unlike anything that we have seen in modern times. And I just wanted to say, for this board, I think it's a great use to have this fund be dissolved to be focused into things that are going to benefit our students long-term. As far as capital projects and facilities, it's going to give the ability that because of the times that we are in, we would not be able to have all the things realized that we really want to do for students, and this is going to help go a long way toward making that happen. And it's not just the dollars now, but the dollars that are coming in the future for this fund, that they will go into capital projects and facilities improvement. It's remarkable to think that when we approved the first new construction elementary school that I recall, it was literally now half the cost of what it is now for an elementary school. That's astounding. And that's just as an example. Everything else has gone up pretty much the same. And so it is with pleasure. We have been asked for years, what are you going to do with that gas money? And we've always said, we don't know, but it is going to be something very beneficial and special in some way. And I think this is a great use of this. And so with that, I would like to put on my old man readers here. And I move to approve the following resolution, closing the Natural Gas Special Revenue Fund and reassigning funds to the Capital Projects Fund. Whereas the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, has adopted Statement 54, GASB 54, as its standard for governmental fund balance reporting and government fund type definitions that became effective in governmental fiscal years starting after June 15th, 2010, and whereas GASB 54 states that fund balance of a government entity may be committed for a specific purpose by formal action of the entity's governing body, and whereas Arlington Independent School District Board of Trustees, the board, has elected to implement GASB 54 requirements since the 2010-2011 school year, and whereas Board Policy CE Local defines the categories of governmental fund balance set forth in GASB 54, and whereas the board has in the past and will continue to utilize its revenues and other resources generated through oil and gas mineral leasing activity and is accounted for in the Natural Gas Special Revenues Fund for use in AISD's Capital Projects Fund, and whereas the board desires to utilize the Natural Gas Special Revenue Fund and all of its revenues and resources for its AISD's Capital Projects Fund. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Arlington Independent School District that the Natural Gas Special Revenue Fund be closed and dissolved, and all present and future revenues and other resources generated through oil and gas mineral leasing activity hereafter be assigned and designated to AISD's Capital Projects Fund to be used for approved capital projects, passed, approved, and effective this December 8th, 2022. Need a second.
Thank you, Dr. Reich. We have a motion by Dr. Reich. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Please vote. Motion carries in the affirmative. Thank you. We're ready for our consent agenda items. Dr. Cavazos?
These items are in consent as general items for your consideration. If there are any questions, then by all means, we would be available to answer.
Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
Motion.
I have a motion from Ms. McMurrow. Do I have a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Ms. McMurrow. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a first by Ms. McMurrow, a second by Mr. Chapa. Please vote. Motion carries in the affirmative. Thank you. We now move on to our discussion items. Dr. Cavazos?
Thank you, President Fowler. And the first discussion item is our 2023-2024 school calendar. We bring this as a discussion item to obviously obtain feedback, but also give the results of our committee work, a calendar committee. This is an important consideration every year that we consider our calendar. It's also important to be timely with that calendar so people can make plans, families, etc. So, Dr. Hill, I want to thank you ahead of time because you've led this committee for a number of years, and calendars don't necessarily get easier, but you've done it, and you've done it really well. And so at this time, I'll turn it over to Dr. Hill for his presentation of the calendar, draft calendar.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Cavazos, and President Fowler and board members. Again, here to do a brief presentation on the work of the calendar committee at this point. I want to start off by just recognizing the committee. They're not here tonight, as you can see, but many may be watching online. And so I wanted to recognize them and their commitment to wanting to be a part of this. We have teachers, we have staff members, we have parents, students, the SLAB members, as well as all of the teacher organizations in the district that are represented on the committee. So we had a good committee that had viewpoints from different areas, and it was all represented and went well. We'll just talk about the process. We'll talk about the purpose of the committee, the timeline that we went through, just kind of review some rules and laws for the calendar, some discussions and recommendations, and then we'll look at some of the draft calendar, and there's also another step in there where we've also presented this to the Board Governance Committee. The purpose basically was for the committee to draft an academic-focused calendar for the next school year that emphasizes student outcomes while being aligned with state laws and other local laws. But we also wanted to consider the impact on the staff and the greater community. So when you try to put all of that into one, it can get a little dicey there, but we were able to come through with some recommendations for consideration. The timeline, as you can see, we started with the calendar committee application being posted online from November 2nd to the 11th. Our first committee meeting was November 28th. On December 5th, we had a board governance committee where we presented some of the findings from the actual calendar committee. Again, we're here tonight on December 8th to present to the board. We do have a second committee meeting that's already scheduled for December 14th where we'll talk about that a little bit more. And the plan is to come back on that January 12th meeting to bring back a recommendation so we could try to get this approved early enough so parents can get the calendar and make their plans, because we do know that happens rather early in the year. So as we went through the process, here's some of the rules and laws and considerations, just put them all together there. House Bill 2610 from the previous legislative session went from required number of days to the 75,600 minutes, plus additional minutes to cover for 2 emergency closures. It also requires that a teachers be on a 187-day contract. It also required that the first day of school not be prior to the 4th Monday in August. Because we're a district of innovation, we were able to be exempt from that requirement. The rules also require that the last day of school not be prior to May 15th. This is not a rule, but a consideration that we try in Arlington is that we have balanced semesters, not try to have the semesters too far off kilter, but we know we can't get them perfect. And we want to try to end semester 1 before January, especially for our secondary schools. And because of our partnerships with both students and our staff, with UT Arlington and TCC, we wanted to try to balance with them as much as we could. And so some of the discussions in the calendar committee, we talked about possibly a start of school in the middle of the week versus at the beginning of the week, and try to let teachers and students both transition into the week in August versus starting with the full week. We also talked about some school safety concerns with Election Day, consideration for moving the October Exchange Day, move that to November 7th for this coming year, and place that on Election Day. There was also some small discussions within the committee about a modified block schedule a little bit, but we thought that was really outside of the scope of the calendar committee, but it was something that we could possibly consider internally for discussion, but not as a calendar committee. And then you can see this much better in your packet, but you have an actual draft of the calendar and what it looks like and how it all falls out with the days, and it meets the minutes requirements and things of that nature. The calendar would include 7 teacher or staff development days in August, 2 staff development days, 1 in November and 1 in April, 2 teacher prep days. We always have one at the beginning of both in January and then in May. We'll still have the full week for Thanksgiving break, 2 weeks for winter break. The spring break would still be the second full week in March to align with the universities around us. And the last day for students would be May 24th with those 2 exchange days in May. We still have the 187-day teacher contract, and we do have the 76,610 minutes, which includes the required 75.6 plus the additional days for makeup if we need them. And so we presented all this, and we had some considerations to the Board Governance Committee, and they've asked that we go back to review a couple of things here. One being the Election Day closure. Closing would impact all schools, yet only a third of our schools are as election sites. This would require parents to have childcare at a random day in the middle of the week versus what they're accustomed to. And then what additional resources would we need as a district if we were to leave schools open on Election Day to make sure that there's a separation of school and election while honoring what both of them require. And then possible consideration for the 24-25 school year when there's an actual presidential election, and the research shows that there's a greater turnout during those elections. And then with the winter break considerations is additional time before Christmas during winter break. Right now, it kind of moves up right until maybe 1 actual school day out prior to Christmas over that break, consideration of moving that to give it a little bit more time, and possibly starting the second semester in the middle of that week to try to balance out that time over winter break. So our plan is to take that information back to the calendar committee to kind of review at the request of the governance committee and potentially the full board. And that meeting is already scheduled for December 14th. We'll again probably have another governance committee if necessary between the 14th of December and our January 12th board meeting, for which we'll come back for action or discussion and action. So that's kind of where we are with the calendar committee in this process, and we'll be happy to entertain any questions or take any more feedback. So,
Do I have any trustees with comments or questions? Ms. McMurrough?
Dr. Hill, I just wanted to thank you for all your work on this. I appreciate everyone on our calendar committee, and I appreciate that they craft this draft alongside you, and then it comes to the board versus the other way around, because we truly value what all of the stakeholders who make up the committee prefer. I will be honest, the cutting it close to Christmas break was truly my only concern, especially now learning that surrounding districts are drafting next year's school calendar a little bit earlier, where there would be at least a couple more days before Christmas Day to allow families, to not just have that time before Christmas Day, but also come back earlier than January 9th. So that's just something that I wanted to look at one more time. But I love a lot of things about this drafted calendar. I think the consideration of starting school midweek will really have a positive impact on students and teachers. So I want to reiterate, big thank you to you and to everyone on our calendar committee. Appreciate you meeting with governance as well.
Thank you, Ms. McMurrough. Mr. Wilbanks?
Thank you, President Fowler. I too like the calendar. It's very consistent. I like that we end the semester like we have since 2011, before Christmas break. But that break is really close to Christmas, and with traveling parents, I know it's tight with the week off on November. On the flip side, starting the year earlier in August, I noticed we start on a Wednesday, which I think the teachers prefer. So I would defer to the teachers on the committee as, do we want, could we start on a Tuesday, move up a day, give us an extra day? That's the only thing I would look at is let the teachers balance the will of the parents versus the will of the teachers. I'm going to defer the teachers, being a parent. And again, that's the only concern. So if they want to look at that one last time, see if they can maybe squeeze out a little bit more time on that break.
Absolutely.
Or if it's more
important
to start in that midweek where it is. I'll again defer to them.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. I want to say thank you to Dr. Hill and to all the people that are serving on the committee. I'm glad it's not our decision. I like that it comes from them. And I also want to thank our board governance committee, Justin Chapa, Chair, Keisha Mays, and Sarah McMurrough. So thank you for looking at the calendar and working with the committee. I like your suggestions. So thank you so much, Dr. Hill. We appreciate it.
You bet.
We move on now to discussion B, House Bill 3 and District Improvement Plan Monitoring Update. Dr. Cavazos?
Thank you, President Fowler. And as has become routine when we have additional data on our data cycles of student performance, we bring that before the board. This one will be just as interesting as the other ones we have brought before, with a little insight and things that we've learned along the way. But I want to start though by the real root of what this data does in our system for our students. I was able to visit with principals today, so a group of principals, when they analyze their data, led by our Office of School Leadership. And the purpose of this ultimately, because sometimes we get into data and numbers and all that, is ultimately to impact the student and their performance. And the intentionality that happens across the system with teachers and principals and departments and central is just something that we should never lose sight of. I try never to lose sight of as we go through these numbers, because the reality is we're trying to make sure that the students their needs are met. And one way to know their needs is through their performance assessments. So I thought I'd start with that, and at this point I'll turn it over to Dr. Lopez to lead us through this round of assessment information. Dr. Lopez.
Thank you, President Fowler, members of the board, and Dr. Cavazos. Thank you for the time. So I will provide the update on the House Bill 3 and then our DIP goal progress based on the CA2 assessment. So our curriculum assessment 2 was administered November 7th through November 10th. And we utilized 2 different assessments during this window, the STAR interim assessments and then our internally created curriculum assessments. So for the STAR interim assessments, we chose to administer those for reading and math. And then for science and social studies, we maintained our district-developed curriculum assessments. The SIAs for reading and math, there are 2 opportunities and 2 different test administrations with different tests comprised of different items. And they have a fall window and then a spring window. So it felt okay to take advantage of that early and use that for reading and math in the fall. But for science and social studies, there's only 1 assessment opportunity. It's a larger window. So the window opens in November and closes in April, but it's just the 1 test. And we'd like to administer that test once more of the material has been covered for science and social studies. So we're going to wait to administer SIA for the benchmark assessment in the spring. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the STAR interim assessments. So it's an online computer adaptive test designed to monitor student progress at the point in time that the district chooses. And then it predicts student performance on STAR for the upcoming spring. They're developed and provided by TEA, so there's alignment between the SIAs and STAR as far as item development and rigor, and then just general test format. The items are aligned to the TEKS, and then include new technology enhanced items this year, such as your hotspot, drag and drop, multi-select, etc. Delivered in the same system, so they're administered in Cambium. And that gives students an opportunity to practice taking the assessment and exposing them to that format that they're going to be taking their STAR assessment in the spring. Same functionality and tools, et cetera. Kind of just want to give them that exposure. And then the SIA's reports are district level, campus level, and then student level. They come with the probability of performance on the STAR, and then also reporting category areas that the students would need additional support or assistance in order to get back and stay where they need to be as far as grade level expectations. So lots of advantages there. But there are some disadvantages this year. And so there's a notice of impact on SIA results due to the STAR redesign that was published on TEA's website. And so this little excerpt is taken directly from the TEA website, and I'm going to read this just verbatim. During the school year 22-23, STAR interim assessments will predict student performance on STAR through an algorithm that has been calibrated using the existing STAR performance standards. Because new standards will be set after the spring 2023 STAR test administration, educators should exercise caution when interpreting these predictions. Predictions are one of multiple data points to consider when determining which students need additional support. So we knew kind of ahead of time that there might be some discomfort and concern with the assessment results. And so with our initial SIA data file, we noticed a pattern of abnormally low performance across the reading and math, across the grade levels in our own district. But that mirrored what we were seeing across the region for other districts. Contributing factors to this may include the SIA probabilities associated with the different performance levels of the approaches, meets, and masters. They're not appearing to account for point in time, but you do have a window, so that's I can't speak to the reliability of that, especially with the STAR redesign and the predictability being based on the old design. The scale scores may vary, obviously, based on the alignment to the scope and sequence. So what have you covered up to this point in time? The test has a year's worth of content, and if we gave this on November 7th, you're 10 weeks in. Depending on the teacher's scope and sequence, you may not have taught all the TEKs. I certainly wouldn't think you would have taught all the TEKs by November 7th. And that's okay, because usually your scale score and then the probability that comes with that is slightly more reliable. It's just more difficult for them this year because of the redesign. And so the test developers are possibly still calibrating on that and working out some of the kinks to make the results more useful. And then we know that the new performance levels that they set should be more reliable for next year, and we're hoping maybe the determinations will be more appropriate. And they may possibly be already moving in that direction. I think additionally the STAR redesign and the TEIs may be possibly throwing off the reliability of their predictions and their algorithm. And these are just possibilities for why the probabilities aren't seeming to be reliable across the board. And so beyond that, there's inconsistencies at the granular level with our student data. So when we looked at the actual scale scores for our students, we aren't sure what the alignment is between the SIA scale score and the current scale scores from the raw score conversion charts used in 2022. We don't know that. We don't work for TEA, and so it's difficult to interpret. And the ranges don't match the existing scale scores for the grade levels, and so that's also again, that might not be a problem, but it just is a little concerning for us because we don't know what's going on behind that, and why is there a reason for that? Is the reason for that because of the difference in the format of the assessments, where the old assessment had just the multiple choice, this new assessment has multiple choice, and then all these TEIs? Is that messing with whatever they've done in order to create these predictions and the scale scores? We don't know. And then just as we were looking through existing cut scores that were used to determine like the performance levels, the approaches, meets, and masters, the results for predicting the probability of performance seemed inconsistent. So I could give an example on the slide here. Student A, their scale score may be falling in the 2022's did not meet performance level category, but a student may have a probability of approaching that's over 80%. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but there's not the consistency of that did not meet score and then the probability. And again, there may be a reason for that, but we don't know the reason. If it's based on the items that the student responded to, and that's what's impacting the probability, even though the scale score is the same, that's something that we can't account for. So the decision is made that we were going to address these inconsistencies by running our own internal equating process with the data that we receive from the SIA file, similar to what we do with our curriculum assessments. Just if you have 67% of your students that are at the did not meets on a test, that's not helpful for the system, and that's not helpful for a teacher. And doesn't feel appropriate to say, well, while the teacher is the one in the classroom and knows that student better than anybody in my office doing equating, it shouldn't be up to the teacher to say, well, just use your discernment. You know your students. Yes, they do, but that's not what we're going to rely on at the system level to make decisions and to run any type of accountability projections. So the decision was made. We ran our equating process, and so what you're going to see are the adjusted score performances based on our equating process, not on the Cambium results. So I'm going to start with reading first, cover reading, and then I'll move into math. So for third grade reading, we wanted to increase the percentage of those students at the approaches level from 69 to 71%. And for CA2, we came in at 67%. So that's just about 4 shy of where we want to be. It's a large jump from CA1, but if you'll recall, we had made a manual adjustment to our equating process on CA1. So I wouldn't read anything too much into that increase from CA1 to CA2. That's the only test that has that large of an increase there. I'm sorry, I apologize. And then this slide shows that broken down by demographic. Moving into 8th grade reading, we're looking to increase the percentage from 78 to 81%. And for CA2, we came in at 76%. And the results here are shown broken down by demographic. For high school English 1, our aim is to increase the approaches from 64 to 68. And for CA2, we were at 62%. And then there's broken out by the different student groups. And then finally, high school English 2, our goal is to increase approaches from 70 to 72%. And for CA2, we came in at 68%. And then there are the results by the student group. And then moving into the DIP goal, overall district reading, we're aiming to go from approaches of 71% to 74%. And for all of our reading tests that we administered, we came in at 69%, so kind of right where we were based on CA1. Right where we were at CA1, and moving towards the goal of 74%. That's broken down by the student group. I'll now move into the math tests. So third grade math, we'd like to increase the percentage of approaches from 62 to 67. And for CA2, we came in at 60%. So a slight dip there from CA1. And then for 8th grade math, we were looking to increase from 64 to 72, and that came in at 57%. And then there it is broken down by student group. For high school algebra 1, our goal was to increase from 72 to 75%. And we came in at 70. And there are the results by the different student groups. And then the second portion of our academic goal in DIP was our overall district math goal, and we'd like to move from 64 to 70%. And our results from CA2 were at 61%. And here's that shown by student group. Before we move into the other non-academic, oh no, CCMR is not necessarily non-academic, but beyond the academic portion of our DIP goals, when we employed our equating process, we were very conservative. So we didn't want to overestimate, and so if there was any judgment calls, we set the bar higher than lower. And so some of the decrease might be because of our method on this particular test. So with the SIA and the not being internal and not being our typical process, we didn't want to violate assumptions. And so we kind of also erred on the side of caution. So moving into our second DIP goal, that's our college, career, and military readiness. Our goal is to increase the percentage of CCMR from 63 to 67%. Now, if you'll recall, 63% was our 2022 graduating class. So that 63% is what's going to go into accountability this coming spring. However, we use that goal, that percentage to set the goal for the next senior class. So the CA2, the 49% is the percentage of our seniors right now that have a CCMR point. However, that's not going to count for us until 2024's A to F accountability. And then finally, our attendance goal, that's our last of our DIP goals this year. And so we were looking to go from 90.9% in attendance to 93%. And so for the second 6 weeks, we came in at 93.1%, and that's the cumulative. So that's from the beginning of school to the end of the second 6 weeks. So that includes that first 6 weeks time period. We are on a downward trend there, and we hopefully that is not linear. We don't think it will be. And so kind of having some efforts taking place to bring that back up. And so end of the results. So I'll go ahead and pause and let y'all ask any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. Do I have any trustees with questions or comments? Mr. Wilbanks?
Thank you, President Fowler, and thank you, Dr. Lopez. So I'm glad we have an opportunity to give the students practice. But again, you said this CA did or didn't have the new question types that are going to be on the STAR.
The internally
SIA.
created? Oh, the SIA does, yes. And so that's why I think that might be causing some of the problem with their predictability, is that they're probably employing some sort of algorithm based on 2022, which is an assessment that doesn't have TEIs, but the SIAs that they're giving have these new TEIs. That might be causing some of the problems with the reliability in their projections or their probabilities.
You know, it's you know how frustrating it is when you're trying to do longitudinal analysis over your data and it keeps changing and you're not able to compare apples to apples from one year to the next. But yet we adopt these goals, set 5-year goals, and we need consistency. And this is just, seems like it's just creating major disruption. Unlike our screener data, which is, for a few of them, we have the luxury of using NWEA's map, which is highly predictive of STAR. Now they'll be thrown for the loop and try to predict the new STAR as well, but we also, it's norm reference across the country and across the state, so we can see competitively, are we slipping or not? We can have a better gauge of, are we making true growth towards our goals? So my question is why wouldn't we rely more on a proven tool like that to help provide that needed consistency? I get the lure of using the SIAs, but from our job as trustees who have to monitor progress, we need reliable progress measures, and this is anything but reliable with 3 pages of disclaimers from you on what's wrong. So I understand the frustration, and I really appreciate you outlining all the problems, but yeah, I think it would be helpful for us if it seems like using the screener data is going to be a better predictor of us this year in terms of really monitoring growth and if we are on the right trajectory or not. Just looking at some of your own scaling here, you know, there's a large gap in it. You know, it seems, you know, it's going to have its own problems, right?
Sure.
And so it's really hard for us to put much stock in this of really being able to take any takeaways from this data on if we are truly on the right path or not, unfortunately. So I know that's not really a question, that's more of a comment, but it's more frustration on my part because we're tasked with doing this and we're just not getting reliable data because of the state of our accountability system. Not to any of your faults. You guys are going above and beyond. You're giving well, I can't use the right term in polite company here and maintain decorum, but you're given a pile of, you know what, and you have to polish it as well as you can for us, and you've done an admirable job, but it's still pile of you-know-what. So I appreciate the effort. Now, I do have a
Mr.
few.
Wilbanks, just real quick, because I think, and this is probably not going to be an answer more than a comment, but I think it's important to connect to the previous board meeting with the
Yes.
changes in accountability, again, the still in development. And these assessments last year were touted as significant
Yeah.
in preparation, prediction, all the things that.
I bought into that.
Right, well, I mean, that's how it was touted by the agency. It just reinforces the whole notion of it's being built, and now we get a disclaimer, now from the state, not just us, and now we see this, and now perhaps it's that. All of this is coming to still what's gonna be used for accountability for this school year. And it still is under development, and that's, I think, the key, and it's.
They're building the plane while we're passengers on the plane.
Understanding that disclaimers come after you do something. And so, same sense of frustration, and I'll just, maybe this is part of the answer, is fundamentally what we reinforce across the system is meet the needs of students, focus on your instruction, focus on effective instruction, standard alignment, small groups, make sure that those things are in place.
Good use
so
of
that-
formative assessments.
Absolutely, so that
the
we can
teachers get
actually
data they
make the
can
progress.
take action on.
Yep.
So,
So thank you for pointing out that frustration, but it's shared.
yeah, and I actually do have a few questions. Assuming, let's assume that we're in the ideal world and this was usable data. So you said that this test, the SIAs, are a whole year's worth of TEKS, even though it's November and teachers haven't really taught that much. Is there, so I assume there's a standard scope and sequence with the state? Because not all districts are using the same scope and sequence. So how can they predict with any clarity, given forget the variability in our district from campus to campus, but district to district on scope and sequence, how can they predict with accuracy, or is it possible to predict with accuracy when you're testing in November with a test that has questions over a whole year's worth of content?
So I would think that they're gonna rely on historical data in order to make the projections. So for whatever their algorithm is, it uses that historical data in order to make a reliable probability about how you will perform based on how you do on the administration 1 and then the administration 2. Which is why I think they're having such a hard time, is that they can't rely on the historical data with the new item types. The historical data doesn't have the new item types. And so that's what's, I think, causing this to just not be as reliable as what it has been in the past. I would think that next year, this won't be an issue at this point in time, because they'll have given the 2023 STAR with the redesigned items. And so hopefully the SIAs will be more useful for next year. We're just experiencing so much change. And I did ask, when MAP came and I went to a training, I asked about the STAR redesign, and they mentioned that they had been using items similar to the technology enhanced items for years. And so they weren't gonna have as much of a hard time with the predictive aspect as maybe other vendors. I don't know, I haven't looked into the credibility of that statement, but it seems like that could be the case, that the MAP data might be able to overcome this, but I can't speak to that.
But at least we have the fallback of it being referenced against the whole state and the whole nation where it's used.
Yes, but for STAR performance, like STAR's only given in Texas, and so the predictive aspect for how they will do on STAR, the norm reference, won't really help with that. But I believe that we have encouraged teachers that these are data points that you should be using throughout the school year. So they were encouraged to use their BOY screener and then look at CA1 and then CA2. And then so what trend are you seeing? So Dr. Cavazos spoke to the student level. Like, what trend are you seeing?
Yeah.
If it's predicting on the BOY map that they're struggling, and then it's predicting on CA1 that they're struggling on math, and then CA2 that they're struggling, regardless of whatever scale score we give them, adjusted or otherwise. Like, if you're seeing a pattern of struggle, address the struggle and provide the support. And that's really what we're encouraging this year, more so than our predictive abilities. We'll feel better about them next year.
Yeah.
I think everyone will.
Yeah, and so I won't dwell on any of the particulars, other than maybe ask about the CCMR, which is a big part of our final accountability score. And your prediction was a little low, maybe from you being conservative. I don't know, but
That's not a prediction. The 49% is the seniors that have a point at this point in time.
oh, okay, so that's phase.
Yeah,
So that's pretty.
They've passed in their AP with a 3, or they've received a SAT and ACT score that they need to receive. So that is not predictive. That's where they're at. So it's November. Seniors still have tests that they can take and courses that they can finish out. So it's not surprising that they're under the 63 or even the goal of the 67 at this point in time, because a lot of them.
We'll just see that continue to rise as
Yes, sir.
As more of those point eligible events occur.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So nothing to be alarmed. All right. No, that's it. Sorry for the rant.
No.
But we really do appreciate all the work your department puts in and given all the challenges you have to face.
Thank you. I appreciate them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Ms. McMurrow?
Thank you, Dr. Lopez. And one silver lining about them taking the fall interim, and I'm curious to know if this is kind of where you're at too, Dr. Lopez, is the silver lining about our students taking the state interim assessment is the exposure, right? Because they are on the state's platform. Cambium is the same platform in which the students will take STAR. And let alone, this is their first year of required digital assessment. It's the platform itself that, gives exposure. And, there's so many new accommodations that it offers. How do you navigate all that? How do you use it correctly? How do you use it as a tool instead of a toy? These are the things that we really need to make sure. I'm really thinking about our elementary students. We're getting their feet wet. And if it's one thing that our teachers don't have time for, it's to give in to the pressure of acclimating our students to all this navigation and letting that impede actual instruction. So I'm really appreciative that they at least got that exposure and that it replaced CA2 instead of just added on to our list of assessments.
Yes, ma'am.
So we do have that going for us. I was curious what your thoughts were there.
No, I wholeheartedly agree that it's, and it's the main reason that Dr. Cavazos encouraged that we may feel like it's difficult to administer one type here, but then on these subjects administer another type, but the more practice, the better. So, yes, I agree.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. McMurrow. Mr. Wilbanks?
I did have one small request that I forgot to ask for. And up front, you mentioned that that we perform similar to the region scores. Is it possible to get those emailed to us? Just because that might be a way for us to see something objective that we can maybe have a better understanding, at least if we're growing on par with our peers, especially our like-minded regional district, our similar economically disadvantaged districts in the area, so that we can compare some apples to apples.
Okay, so the districts in our region actually aren't in our EcoDis group, when we do our typical plus or minus. And so we don't normally compare ourselves to the region. The scores, though, from Cambium's system won't be the adjusted, so they're not going to reflect what we've shown today.
But they'll be the raw scores to raw scores. That's apples to apples.
The relativity, sure. However, we don't normally compare to our district to the region. So I'm concerned about starting to do something like that when we normally compare ourselves to our other districts.
Yeah, and so said another way, make sure I'm saying it right, Natalie, it's not a valid comparison. Now, the notation here on the PowerPoint was that everybody seemed to have low scores. But that's about all you can gather from the region because they're not a valid comparison. And we just want to caution that. Doesn't mean we'll send it out. We just want to caution that it's not really a valid comparison when you look across the region. Never has been, really, because our region is not reflective of Arlington ISD. It's reflective differently. So the only note, which is an important one, is that it seems that across the region, everybody did poorly, right?
Yeah, that is what we...
And that's about as much as you can gather from this kind of data from the region. I just want to caution it because there's reasons for not comparing with the region because it's not really a valid comparison.
And I don't know which districts in the region are represented either in the Cambium system.
That's the other thing. Right. So it's a little challenging other than you see region and it seems like everybody struggled in the region, generally speaking. But there's not a comparative and if we're not predicting or comparing among campuses and all that, I think it's just a caution because it's not really valid. So, and we can have a further presentation about that here, maybe, but there's a reason we have select groups and all that we compare with because it's valid, and if we start projecting other comparisons, they're just not valid, and it may mislead kind of directions and stuff like that. Just
well, anyway, the reason was not to compare ourselves, but just to see generally how well we compared with districts like Fort Worth and others that we know are similarly echo dis and have similar demographics and are similar large urban districts that we should be performing comparatively well against. So I think it's still valid for that, and so I assume the info's public. I can look it up, but if we had it available, I would still be curious to look at it.
I don't know if Fort Worth, when what I can see in the system doesn't show me Fort Worth did this, Arlington did this. It doesn't display by district or by campus. It's just a regional, bar. And so I don't know which district. Yeah, I don't know which.
That's what it is. I assumed it was like the star data.
Oh, no, sir.
No. But
all right, if that's
perfect.
I'm sorry, I could have provided more clarity. It doesn't.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Dr. Lopez, thank you to you and your team for gathering all of this information and sharing it with us. It's confusing. It just doesn't seem like everything's aligning and we can't have predictions. And I just think we're kind of in a mess right now with all the testing and trying to guesstimate what it's going to be and how we're going to be affected. But thank you so much for all of your time and work. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and Ms. Benjamin has already told us that we do not have any speakers for non-agenda items. We'll now move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Cavazos.
Thank you, President Fowler. And just a couple of things that are happening across our district, and some of them you're well familiar with because you all have participated in some of these. So first, we want to thank FedEx Cares for Operation Warm, which is a project that was specifically for students at Crow Leadership Academy, and you'll see them in those pictures. This morning, every student at the school was outfitted with a new winter coat as part of this project. The students went to the gym and were given jackets that fit them and will fit their needs. More than 550 students were outfitted as part of this project that has donated 18,000 coats nationally this year, and 38 schools in North America, and Crow Leadership Academy was fortunate to be included in that. Last week, I was able to visit Webb Elementary, and so were several board members as they're part of their school's last homecoming. And I know that sounds sad, but it was a very festive event, so it was kind of a dichotomy. Former students and teachers from Webb and Old Nichols Junior High were able to walk the halls one last time as we get ready to close that chapter of a school and move into the new version of Webb Elementary. It was great to see so many faces as they were recalling outstanding times they had at the school, and it will certainly be fun to visit the new Webb next month as students walk through those doors and as we return from the winter break. So thank you to all the Webb staff, current and former in the community. There was a lot of love at Webb that evening. I want to thank some outstanding nurses, AISD nurses, who are members of the Arlington Schools Nurses Association for their work before we went out on break for Thanksgiving. The nurses collected items and put together around 100 kits of essential items for the Arlington Life Shelter. They made these kits and they delivered them to the shelter. Thank you to our nurses as they had a lot of attention during COVID and during those times, and we don't want to forget that they do outstanding work outside of all the work they already do for our district. In case you haven't noticed, our favorite local NFL team is having a great year. This is going somewhere, by the way. Yeah. And one of the reasons for the Dallas Cowboys' success is outstanding players on the offensive line. As an example, some of our students at Nichols Junior High, it's going to get somewhere. Some of the students at Nichols Junior High got to talk with two of these offensive linemen as part of their character playbook program that we have with EverFi. The students visited with those two along with the Medal of Honor Museum President, CEO Chris Cassidy, at the museum's Preview Center. And I just want to commend the students of Nichols Junior High that represented that day, the staff that represented. I received feedback from Medal of Honor representatives of just how well these students did and how engaged they were in the learning, and I'm just so proud of them. So many more things to come with the Medal of Honor with Dallas Cowboys, and I just want to thank them. Last night, we had an opportunity to represent our district and be part of Ella B's Generous Hands Holiday Gift Bag. The event was at our athletics complex, and you'll see that. What is Miss Mays doing? She's delivering food. That's right. Okay, so no, that's not my lunch plate. So this is the second year we've been able to roll up our sleeves and put on some aprons and serve plated dinners to over 400 of our families. It was a great event. I'm thankful to Ella B's for so many of their donations, but so much that they've dedicated to our community partners, Tori Sisk and her department for families in transition, and everyone who was able to help make that a success. And that was just last night. And again, our generous community, so thank you to them, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Cavazos. Ms. Mays?
Thank you, President Fowler. I'm just would love to piggyback off of the Ella B second annual holiday give back event that was held at our beautiful Arlington Athletic Complex. Thanks once again to our taxpayers for the bond passage. We were able to serve over 400 students and families that are in transitional homes. The families actually had an opportunity to sit down and eat together in fellowship, welcome Santa, and every student left with a bag full of gifts to take home. This amazing event is the vision of Patricia and Patrick Whitfield of Ella B's, and they were also one of our recipients of the Community Engaged for Excellence Award of Appreciation from the board. I just wanted to, on behalf of the board, just give some shout outs to all of the people that we could see that have worked behind the scenes so tirelessly to make sure that our families and students had an amazing time. And that would include Dr. Hill, our Student Outreach Service Center led by Tori Sisk, as Dr. Cavazos mentioned, our Parent and Community Engagement Department led by Aaron Perales, Steve Guadalupe with the Athletic Department, the Security Department, and our custodial team. Everybody worked so hard together. And then have to say a thank you to the wonderful servers. Once again, that included volunteers from Texas Rangers, from XFL, Dallas Wings, Texas Live, the Arlington City Council, as well as our Board of Trustees. So it was just an amazing event, the second year, and I'm so looking forward to next year to see, once again, all the families sitting down at the table together, enjoying food and fellowship and fun. And what an honor it was to serve each and every one of them.
Thank you, Mrs. Mays. Mr. Wilbanks?
Thank you, President Fowler, and yes, Ms. Mays, it was an amazing event, and it's great to be blessed by community members like Eloise and the Texas Rangers that were here tonight that we honored. We are blessed with so many organizations here, both large and small, and I want to do a shout out to another organization that's been giving back. The Pantego Lions Club has been a strong partner, especially for Bailey Junior High. And just this week, they were at Bailey Junior High. They first off gave an $880 gift to the AVID students who were volunteering at Mission Arlington, and gave them a reward of a pizza at CC's. So I want to thank them for that gift, but they also turned around and helped out not just our AVID students, but the art department, and awarded $50 gift cards to all the recipients of the, I think it was a peace poster contest. And in addition to the $50 gift certificates, gave out $200 to the art department for supplies, probably much needed supplies. So I want to thank the Pantego Lions Club for all they do for not just Bailey, but the whole community.
Thank you, Mr. Wilbanks. Any other reports? Dr. Reich?
Thank you, President Fowler. I just wanted to say that this is our only meeting that we have in December. Next week will be a very busy week for everybody in this district, as it already is. With that, the holiday season, I just want us all to reflect on the reason for the season, the real reason for the season. It's not about running around frantically, decorating, shopping, taking care of things, being stressed. It's about focusing on family and friends and love and religion. And I wish that we all take time, everybody, to really focus on that, because my personal belief with this season is about religion, and without that, we wouldn't be here. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. And also, as we've seen on the cameras tonight, we have these wonderful poinsettias from our career tech students, the horticultural students. Thank you so much for these wonderful, wonderful gifts that will beautify our homes. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Raj. In mentioning the poinsettias, the ones that come from our horticulture center are the only ones that I can ever keep alive. They just forever. They're so healthy and so good. And the others that you get as gifts or purchase, they don't last very long. But these, they live on. Ms. McMurrough.
I don't really want to follow Dr. Reich, but I do have to give this shout out. Tonight we saw Arlington High School's AHS Choraliers, and I love a good show choir. I really do. And there are so many concerts going on, orchestra, band, and it's just such a busy and one would say frantic time of year. But I was really reminded this past, month, how strong our AISD fine arts programs are. And I snagged a very lucky ticket. This is a difficult event to get a ticket to, but I was invited to attend the annual dinner theater in which the Martin High School, Bowles Junior High, and Young Junior High show choirs all combine, and they do their big performance, and it's a fundraiser. They do their big performance at our Professional Development Center each year, and I was able to see a lot of great songs, great performances, saw some former students, and I just want to thank the choir directors district-wide, not just in the Martin Network, but district-wide, and all of our music educators that not only, teach our students those skills, but foster the love of music, because not all of these students are going to go on to pursue careers as a musician, but it gives them that great experience. It gives them something to latch onto and learn life lessons from. So shout out to everyone involved with AISD Fine Arts. My heart was so full after attending this great event.
Thank you, Ms. McMurrow. And I'm excited to tell everyone that at our trustee dinner next Monday that we're going to celebrate together, Young Junior High Choir will be performing for us. So I thank Christy Jones for working out all the logistics and making sure that we had them there, and I'm sure that we will enjoy Young Junior High. Anyone else? Anyone else? Couple of things that I wanted to give shout outs to. We were so blessed by our SLAB students, our Student Leadership Advisory Board, and under the leadership of Dr. Jarko. And we wanted a tree at the Junior League, their festival of trees that they do every year. And so we thought, well, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna decorate? Here's some pictures of what our SLAB students did for our tree. It is the most incredible tree you have ever seen. Their theme was unity, and they have decorations from every single school, every single department. They just went above and beyond on this tree, and I never anticipated anything this great. I just didn't know what to expect. And it is just incredible. From all across the district are the decorations. And I want to thank Cyril Egabama, Monet Chisa, Skylar Evans, Emilio Bertango, Abel Hernandez, Joel Regina, Joanna Silva, Joanne Zia, and Lily Perez for all of your work getting this together. And you see our tree there with the word unity, and we're just so proud, and we're so grateful to our SLAB students for taking the time and coming up with this theme, and it's just a magnificent tree. So I hope everyone can take time to go to the Junior League and look at the Festival of Trees, and maybe you might even want to vote for our tree and think about that. And I thank Dr. Jarko so much for overseeing this and working with the students and bringing it all together for us. One other shout out, Lamar Boys Wrestling had an incredible tournament that they participated in. It was the Randall Ruckus out in Amarillo against 3 of the top 5A teams in the state, as well as another 25 teams across 6A and 5A. And they placed, Sean Ferrance, senior, placed first and is currently undefeated. Jose Cervantes is a junior. He places first and is currently 12-4. Damian Brown Jr. placed first, currently 8-2, all wins by fall. Dax Daniel, sophomore, placed third, 7-2. Anthony Simpson, freshman, placed third, 12-4. Jesse Gomez, sophomore, placed fourth, currently 16-5. Jacob Frias, Max Berger, Damian Sanchez, and Oscar Vasquez all received medals and awards. And I just want to say how proud we are that Lamar Boys Wrestling performed so well at this tournament, and they make us AISD proud. So those are all the shout outs I have. Ms. Mays?
President Fowler, I apologize. No, I'm sorry for going after you. I can fit this in because this university gives back so much, scholarships, full rides to our students at Sam Houston. So I just have to, this Aggie girl just wants to say, way to go, Frogs. Congratulations to TCU. We will be watching them.
I'm going to the game.
I'm excited that my husband and I were able to snag a couple of tickets, so I'll see you there. Well, I want to wish everyone a very, very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to our teachers, to our students, to our families, to our administrators, and everyone here. I hope you have a wonderful Christmas with your family. Happy New Year, and we will see you back in January 2023. Thank you so much. Oh. Ms. Secretary, do we have anything to report?
We do not.
Thank you, Ms. Secretary, for that important announcement. Meeting is adjourned at 9:09.